and roar louder. They don't live in the rafters. They live in the city. Forever.
The Knicks are the 13th team in NBA postseason history to win 9 straight playoff games. 7 of the previous 12 went on to win the title. The Knicks have outscored opponents by almost 24 points per game during that run, the best 9-game stretch in postseason history. Stephen A. Smith is back with us. Okay, so I know you know they haven't been to the finals since 1999. What have you seen from this team as they eye getting back?
Well, listen, I mean, first of all, you're led by Jalen Brunson, who's averaging 28 and 10 on 49% shooting. He's been absolutely sensational of scoring game one, of playmaking game two. Josh Hart, the Energizer Bunny, he's come together. He's handled his business. Very, very happy with him. Mikal Bridges, let me say this. Let me bring this thing up. I've been all over him because I needed more. And he's been giving it to us. The man's shooting about 60% from three-point range. He is averaging over 18 points a game. They're getting offense. They're playing together. They're playing unselfishly. They're playing stout defense, particularly when it counts. They keep this up, obviously. They're going to the finals. Just like I said, they're going to the finals. That's how it's going to go down.
I do want to ask you, you're pretty confident you think they're going to the finals before we go to the next question about the Cavs?
Absolutely. This series is over. The Cavs are not coming back. This ain't the Detroit Pistons. This is the New York Knicks. They're not giving up this 2-0 lead. Don't even worry about that.
Let's talk about the Cavs, though. They're in a 2-game hole going back to Cleveland. How do they steal a game at home?
Donovan Mitchell's got to play big. I think you've gotten to the point where you can't expect anything from from James Harden offensively, because he has not been himself at all. 35% from the field, 26% from three-point range, and it always happens this time of year, meaning deep into the playoffs. It's unfortunate, but that's just his MO right now. How about making sure that Evan Mobley, who scores 14 points for you in the first half and is the leading scorer, actually takes a shot in the second half? How about that? That would go a long way. And oh, by the way, not giving up wide open three-point shots to Josh Hart, to Karl Anthony Towns, to Mikal Bridges, to OG Anunoby. You got to play some defense. You got to play big. You got to play some defense, obviously. And your stars have to be stars. That starts with Donovan Mitchell. On your home court, that's what it's going to require.
Okay, so obviously Knicks fans were chanting 4-0. They think the Knicks are going to sweep this one. Do you agree with the rest of the Knicks fans?
No, I think that Donovan Mitchell is gifted enough, and them collectively as a defense, when they amp it up, are good enough to steal you a game on their home court. But they won't win both. They'll lose one, they'll win another, and the New York Knicks come back to the Garden Wednesday night, Game 5, close it out, and go back to the finals for the first time since 1999.
All right, we'll see what happens. Stephen A. Smith, thank you very much. Orange and blue skies, baby.
Yes.
Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Knicks and the Cavs is Saturday night, 8 Eastern on ESPN, with New York up 2-0. NBA tip-off gets you ready at 7:30, and you can also stream the game on the ESPN app.
Game 3 of Spurs Thunder is already remarkable. San Antonio is a 1.5-point favorite tonight. If that spread holds, it would be the first time in the last 2 postseasons, going back 33 games, where the Thunder are underdogs in a playoff game. That's the 3rd longest streak in the last 35 years, behind only Steph's Warriors and the Jordan Bulls. Let's bring in our sports betting analyst, Aaron Dolan, now to get us ready for this Game 3. So, Aaron, as I just mentioned, we have kind of this historic swing in the line with the Thunder being underdogs. Might give some people pause. In your mind, what's the play here in San Antonio?
Well, the spread is giving me pause, so I'm going to stay away from that altogether and just take the Spurs to win this game outright. That would mean just taking them on the money line. I do think that this is a good spot for them, knowing that they are going back home, where they're 13-2 straight up when coming off a loss as soon as they do return back home to San Antonio. I also don't see them committing 21 turnovers like we did in Game 2. That really hurt them. And then on top of that, if you look at De'Aaron Fox as well as Dylan Harper, they have both their props up right now on DraftKings. So I think that can only help them, and I like them to win outright at home. Also looking at Wemby to go for 14 or more rebounds. You can try to stop Wemby, but it just seems like nobody can do that against the glass. He had 24 rebounds in Game 1, of course, thanks to double overtime, but he followed that up in Game 2 with 17 rebounds. There's no reason to think that anybody on OKC's defense can stop him against the glass. So I'll take him, again, to go over 14 or more rebounds for this game. And again, you could parlay these all together in a same game parlay. Last but not least, looking at the under 217.5. if you look at this series as a whole, yes, we've seen 2 overs cash, and we saw game 1 close at 218.5, game 2 at 213.5. But I think this is somewhat of an overreaction to what we saw in game 2 when both sides shot really well. We know defense obviously really shows up in the postseason. And I do think this will be a slower paced game than what we've seen. So I am going to go under 217.5 as well.
All right, under on the points, but don't take the underdogs, who are the Thunder for the first time in the playoffs since Game 6 of the 2024 West semifinals against the Mavs, a game which OKC lost by a single point, by the way. Aaron, getting us straight on the betting angles for Game 3.
As you played against both of these teams this season, what has been your biggest takeaway from the series so far?
The physicality. Both teams definitely physical. But to see them playing through the things that they playing through, obviously it's playoff basketball, so a lot of stuff not going to be called, but both teams being physical, fighting, every possession counts. But it's been fun to watch. Nothing unexpected. 2 of the best teams that was in the Western Conference, and they showing it.
I will not get over Wemby pulling up from 28 feet. That was crazy. So last night we saw the Knicks take a commanding 2-0 lead at the Garden. What stands out to you about what New York is doing in these playoffs?
Man, the Knicks look hungry. They look hungry. They showed it in that fourth quarter of game 1, and I think they came out with that same energy game 2. They just playing with that New York energy, that vibe. You could just tell they want it. They've been right there the last couple of years, but I think this year they feel like it's they shot to get to the championship, and they're showing it.
Yeah, I do think that break did them well as well. Okay, so I do want to talk about your season. It was your 17th in the NBA. You averaged 18 points a game. You are under contract for another season in Sacramento. So how would you describe this point in your career?
Listen, to be able to play this long at this high level, I'm honored. It's a blessing. I take my preparation to this game extremely serious. And for me, I just want to be able to have the opportunity to compete at a high level. Play meaningful basketball. You still want to be playing this time of the year. So, from my perspective, just want to figure out what's next. The best winning situation, whatever we could do to, prolong this career as long as possible. But especially doing it from a winning perspective.
Yeah, they call you one of the OGs, I'm sure. Okay, so May is Mental Health Awareness Month. You've been very vocal about how you navigate things that have impacted your mental health. How would you characterize the mental health challenges that you face as a professional athlete?
It's tough. It's a daily challenge every single day. just finding yourself, maneuvering through life. Because life is going to throw haymakers at you here and there. Figuring out, the best way to stay positive, when you're having tough days, when you're having rough days, figuring out what's best for you to kind of keep yourself in that mental headspace. So for me, just, every day is a challenge. I'm trying to find myself, trying to be in the best possible mental state that I could be in, not just for myself, for my kids, for my friends, for my family, whatever it may be, because it's a test, especially being in this position, playing basketball. Being in the league for so long, missing out on so many things, you have those rough days of just trying to figure it out. So for me, it's just trying to stay balanced as best as I can.
And you talked a little bit earlier about all the things that you do to keep yourself in physical shape. What have you put into practice to help you overcome some of those mental challenges?
Sometimes just taking a moment to yourself. Sometimes you just got to really just put everything to the side, focus on yourself, be one with yourself, and kind of, find the positivity in the things that you could grow from, the obstacles that you go through, the character that you're trying to build up to, the person you're trying to be. So for me, it's just trying to find that balance and taking time out for yourself, because we give so much energy so many places in life, and sometimes we forget to put that energy towards ourselves. So for me, just putting that energy towards myself, whatever it may be, it could be be a walk, reading a book, whatever it may be. So for me, it's just trying to find that positive light to lean on and understand that, tough days never going to last, but, it definitely builds character once you get through it.
You also started a YouTube series called Dinners with DeMar. What more can you share with us about that?
Yeah, I think I'm working on getting more great conversations of